Picture this. You wake up in the dead of night, glance at the clock, and there it is again, 3 a.m. Has this happened to you before? What if I told you it's not just a coincidence? Every time you wake up at that exact hour, God is trying to tell you something deeply important. What if you've been missing the most crucial message of your life each time this happens? The truth is, most people don't realize that waking up at 3 a.m. carries a powerful significance. There's a reason why that moment feels different. The silence speaks, and there's a pull you can't quite explain. This is why God wakes you up at 3 a.m., and there's a secret behind it that could change everything for you. Here's the most fascinating part. The Bible is full of stories where God chooses the stillness of the night to communicate, and there's a reason for that. Why 3 a.m.? What makes this time so special? What many don't know is that this is when the connection between the physical and the spiritual is at its strongest. And God might be revealing something to you, something unexpected, something that could transform the direction of your life. Get ready, because we're about to uncover why waking up at 3 a.m. is no accident. This could be the moment when God is calling out to you, bringing answers, protection, or even a mission you didn't see coming. The secret is much bigger than you ever imagined, and I'm going to reveal it all, but only if you're ready to listen and take action. Trust me, you're going to want to stick around until the end, because what's coming next might just change your life forever. There's a reason why waking up in the middle of the night feels so profound, especially when it happens at specific hours. Many people notice that waking up early, particularly at times like 3 a.m., carries a unique energy. It feels like the world is still, and there's something more to that moment than just restless sleep. In spiritual terms, waking up early can be seen as a divine signal, an invitation to listen to God's voice when all else is quiet. This is why God wakes you up at 3 a.m., giving you a moment of peace to reflect, pray, and connect. What if waking up at these times was more than just coincidence? Think about it. Those early hours might not be an accident. It could be the secret to understanding messages that God is sending directly to you. The quiet of the night often allows thoughts to become clearer, and it's in these moments of silence that God might be trying to get your attention. Those who wake up at 3 a.m. often feel that pull to pray or meditate, as if guided by a force beyond their understanding. The Bible shows us many examples of God communicating with his people in the stillness of night. Jacob's dream is just one powerful story. It's like when God wakes you up at 3 a.m., you might be experiencing a moment of divine insight, a spiritual wake-up call. Jacob's dream wasn't just any dream. It was a message from heaven. In the same way, waking up at 3 a.m. could be your chance to receive guidance or reflect on something important in your life. Now imagine if every time you woke up at 3 a.m., it was like opening a door to spiritual understanding. It could be that God is nudging you, saying, "There's something here you need to hear." For some, this might be the perfect time to pull out their Bible, reflect on Scripture, and seek clarity. One practical thing you could try is keeping a journal by your bedside. The next time you wake up at 3 a.m., write down your thoughts, prayers, or even dreams. You might discover patterns or insights you hadn't noticed before. Have you ever wondered why people talk about 3 a.m. being the hour of spiritual activity? There's a reason for that. Some say it's the time when the veil between the physical and spiritual worlds is thinnest. And when God wakes you up at 3 a.m., it's like a reminder that there's more happening than meets the eye. Maybe it's a sign to pray for protection, ask for guidance, or even seek out answers you've been searching for during the day. When you think about it, waking up early isn't just about sleep cycles. It's about aligning with God's timing. Those who wake up at 3 a.m. often report feeling a sense of peace or even an urgency to act on something. It's almost as if God is saying, "So no, this is your moment. Take it." So, next time you wake up at that hour, instead of brushing it off, think about what it could mean. You might be waking up for a reason far beyond just needing to check your phone. It's fascinating to see how waking up at different times can carry different meanings. While some people may shrug it off as just waking up, others believe it's a significant moment. When God wakes you up at 3 a.m., it could be a moment of divine intervention. The secret lies in recognizing that this could be the perfect time for reflection, prayer, and even receiving answers to things you've been struggling with. Think of these early wake-ups as a nudge, A little push from God saying, "I'm here and I have something to share with you." It could be that the solution to a problem or a source of peace is waiting for you in these quiet hours. So don't dismiss it the next time you find yourself awake in the middle of the night. After all, who knows what might happen when God wakes you up at 3 a.m. Throughout the Bible, we see countless moments where God chooses the quiet of the night to communicate with his people. These examples are a reminder that there's something special about those still, early hours when the rest of the world is asleep. One of the most well-known stories is Jacob's dream, where God reaches out to him in the stillness, offering a profound message. It's a clear example of how, just like when God wakes you up at 3 a.m., he might be using that moment to reveal something important. Take a moment to reflect on Moses and the burning bush. This wasn't just any ordinary occurrence. God used the stillness of the wilderness to reveal his plan to Moses. It's much like those times when you're stirred awake at 3 a.m., unsure why, but sensing there's a deeper meaning behind it. When God wakes you up at 3 a.m., it could be your own burning bush moment, a time when God is calling you to pay attention, listen, and act on his guidance. Jacob's dream is particularly fascinating because it wasn't just a dream. It was a divine connection between heaven and earth. Imagine if, every time you wake up early, it's like you're standing at the base of Jacob's ladder, with God inviting you to climb and listen. The secret behind waking up at 3 a.m. might just be that you're being given an opportunity to connect with something beyond this world, much like Jacob was. Let's not forget how these biblical examples show us that God doesn't always choose the loudest moments to speak. Instead, he often uses the stillness, just like he did with Moses. When God wakes you up at 3 a.m., it's like he's whispering in the quiet of your life, asking you to pause, reflect, and listen. These are the moments where life can shift and divine guidance becomes clear. It's a nudge to focus on what truly matters. When you wake up at 3 a.m., it might not just be restlessness. Perhaps, like Jacob or Moses, you're being called to something greater. It could be a signal to pray, reflect, or even make an important decision. The next time this happens, try asking yourself, what is God trying to show me right now? This simple question might lead you to answers that change your life, just like it did for these biblical figures. If you've ever wondered why certain times, like 3 a.m., feel more spiritual, you're not alone. Stories like those of Jacob and Moses show that God often chooses moments of solitude to reveal his plans. So, if God wakes you up at 3 a.m., it could be because he's setting the stage for something important. These stories remind us that God's timing is perfect, and when we wake up in the still of the night, it's worth paying attention. The pattern is clear. When God wants to communicate something significant, he often does it in moments of stillness and quiet. Jacob's dream and Moses' encounter with the burning bush weren't accidents. They were intentional moments of divine connection. Likewise, when you find yourself awake at 3 a.m., it's not just about disturbed sleep. It might be a divine message, a moment to connect with God's plan for your life. So, what can we learn from these biblical examples? It's simple. When God wakes you up at 3 a.m., there's likely a reason. These moments are worth exploring, reflecting on, and embracing. Just like Jacob and Moses, you might find that the quiet hours of the night hold the key to something greater, something you've been searching for all along. Jacob's dream is one of the most compelling stories in the Bible, revealing a moment of divine connection that changed his life. As Jacob lay asleep, he saw a ladder reaching from earth to heaven, with angels ascending and descending. It was a powerful symbol, a bridge between the physical and spiritual worlds. When God wakes you up at 3 a.m., it can feel much like standing at the base of that ladder, with heaven calling out, offering a message you can't afford to miss. This dream wasn't just any dream. It was a moment of divine revelation, where God showed Jacob that he was never alone. Much like waking up at 3 a.m., Jacob's dream opened his eyes to the reality that there is more going on than meets the eye. The secret lies in recognizing that when God wakes you up at 3 a.m., it could be your Jacob's ladder, a sign that heaven is reaching out to you, offering guidance and connection. Think about what it means to wake up at 3 a.m. and feel the need to pray or reflect. In Jacob's dream, he didn't ignore the vision. He recognized its significance. In the same way, when God wakes you up at 3 a.m., it might be time to pause and ask, What is God trying to tell me right now? Just like Jacob, you could be standing at a spiritual crossroad, and this early morning wake-up call might be the key to unlocking the next step in your life. Jacob's dream was a profound moment of clarity, one that showed him the path God had laid out for him. Have you ever experienced waking up at 3 a.m. with a feeling that something bigger is happening? This could be your moment, like Jacob, to recognize the ladder before you, a connection between heaven and earth that's inviting you to take action. Next time this happens, instead of dismissing it, take a moment to reflect on what God might be revealing. It's important to understand that these moments aren't random. Just as Jacob's dream came at a pivotal point in his journey, waking up at 3 a.m. could be a similar turning point for you. Maybe it's a time to seek answers to questions that have been weighing on your mind, or to ask for guidance on a decision you need to make. God often uses the quiet of the night to reveal his plans, and waking up at 3 a.m. could be your own moment of divine clarity. Jacob wasn't expecting to encounter God that night, but his dream forever changed his life. Similarly, when God wakes you up at 3 a.m., you might not expect it, but it could be the start of something significant. Just like Jacob, you might find that the early morning hours are when God chooses to speak to you most clearly. What if this is your moment to receive the answers you've been praying for? In today's world, where distractions are everywhere, it can be easy to miss these moments. But just like Jacob's ladder, when God wakes you up at 3 a.m., it's a call to pay attention. You're being invited to climb that spiritual ladder, to connect with God and to seek out the answers that have been just beyond your reach. It's in these quiet moments that clarity often comes, and the solutions to life's biggest challenges become clear. So, what will you do the next time you wake up at 3 a.m.? Will you dismiss it as just another night of disturbed sleep? Or will you recognize it as your Jacob's ladder moment, a chance to connect with heaven and discover the path God has for you? These early morning moments could hold the secret to the guidance you've been searching for. The story of Moses and the burning bush is a powerful example of how God can reveal his presence in the most unexpected ways. In the quiet of the wilderness, Moses encounters a bush that burns without being consumed, a clear sign that something extraordinary is happening. Much like waking up at 3 a.m., this was a moment where Moses was called to stop, pay attention, and listen. When God wakes you up at 3 a.m., it could be your burning bush moment, signaling that God is reaching out to you with a message that could change your life. Moses didn't ignore the sight of the burning bush. He approached it with curiosity, and as he drew near, God spoke to him, revealing his plan and mission for Moses' life. Similarly, when God wakes you up at 3 a.m., it could be the start of a divine conversation. It's a time when God may be trying to get your attention, to reveal something important to you. Like Moses, you're being invited to step closer, to listen, and to understand the mission God has for you. The burning bush was a turning point in Moses' life. It marked the beginning of his journey to lead the Israelites out of Egypt. For you, waking up at 3 a.m. might be the turning point in your own journey, a time when God is calling you to take action, to make a decision, or to change direction. The secret to understanding why God wakes you up at 3 a.m. could lie in recognizing that this is your moment to respond to God's call. Imagine if Moses had ignored the burning bush, if he had turned away and gone back to his routine. He would have missed out on his purpose, his destiny. In the same way, when God wakes you up at 3 a.m., it's important not to ignore the call. This might be your opportunity to discover the path God has for you. Perhaps it's time to reflect on a decision, seek guidance, or pray for clarity. These early morning hours could hold the answers you've been seeking. Moses didn't just hear from God at the burning bush, he received a mission. God told him exactly what he needed to do. Waking up at 3 a.m. might be your burning bush moment, where God is revealing a mission or purpose for your life. What's interesting is that God often speaks in the stillness, in moments where we're most likely to listen. This is why God wakes you up at 3 a.m., to give you the space to hear his voice, without the noise and distractions of the day. Moses didn't just hear from God at the burning bush, he received a mission. God told him exactly what he needed to do. Waking up at 3 a.m. might be your burning bush moment, where God is revealing a mission or purpose for your life. What's interesting is that God often speaks in the stillness, in moments where we're most likely to listen. This is why God wakes you up at 3 a.m., to give you the space to hear His voice, without the noise and distractions of the day. Think about the times you've woken up at 3 a.m. with a feeling that something more is happening. Maybe it's not just a random event. Like Moses, you could be experiencing a moment of divine communication. The burning bush was a physical sign of God's presence, but your 3 a.m. wake-up call could be a spiritual one. It's a reminder that God is near and that He has something important to share with you. Moses' experience with the burning bush teaches us that God often speaks in unexpected ways. Just like the bush that burned but wasn't consumed, waking up at 3 a.m. can feel strange and out of the ordinary, but it's in these moments that God may be revealing His plan for your life. Next time you wake up at that hour, take a moment to listen. It could be that God is calling you, just as He called Moses, to something greater. The story of Moses and the burning bush is a reminder that when God wants to get your attention, He often does so in ways that are impossible to ignore. When God wakes you up at 3 a.m., it might not be a burning bush, but it's just as significant. It's your moment to pause, listen, and respond to God's call. Who knows what mission or purpose awaits you in those quiet hours? Waking up at different hours of the night can feel unsettling, but what if it's more than just interrupted sleep? Many believe that nighttime awakenings carry spiritual significance, especially when it happens consistently around the same time. Each hour of the night, particularly between 3 a.m. and 4 a.m., is thought to be a sacred window, a moment where divine guidance becomes available. When God wakes you up at 3 a.m., first sight, it could be a sign that you're being invited into a moment of reflection, prayer, or even protection. This concept isn't just modern spirituality. It's rooted in ancient beliefs. In various cultures, the nighttime hours have always been seen as a time when the spiritual realm becomes more accessible. The Bible even reflects this in moments where God speaks to His people during the night. So, when God wakes you up at 3 a.m., it might be more than just a restless mind. It could be the hour when your spirit is most open to receiving a message from God. The secret is to recognize these moments as opportunities for spiritual alignment. Different hours of the night are believed to carry different meanings. For example, waking up around midnight might signify a need for reflection or spiritual protection. But when you find yourself waking up between 3 a.m. and 4 a.m., it's often seen as a time of divine communication. These early hours are thought to be when the veil between the physical and spiritual worlds is thinnest. This is why God wakes you up at 3 a.m. to give you the space to connect with Him, free from the distractions of the day. Imagine waking up at 3 a.m. and instead of feeling annoyed or confused, you take a moment to pray, meditate, or seek clarity. This simple act of acknowledging the significance of the hour could open up new spiritual insights. One thing you could try is having a short prayer or scripture ready by your bedside. So when you wake up, you can immediately engage in a moment of connection with God. These small practices can make the difference between a restless night and a night filled with spiritual revelation. It's not uncommon for people to feel a sense of urgency or even a calling when they wake up at certain times during the night. These nighttime awakenings might be the exact moment when God is trying to communicate something important. Just like biblical figures experience divine messages in the quiet of night, your 3 a.m. wake-up could be your personal moment of divine instruction. Next time this happens, don't dismiss it. Lean into it. Ask yourself, what is God trying to show me? Many people report that their most profound moments of clarity or spiritual insight come in the early hours of the morning. When God wakes you up at 3 a.m., it could be a nudge to reflect on your life, make important decisions, or even seek protection through prayer. These early hours are often the time when our minds are quiet enough to hear what God has been trying to tell us all along. It's in these moments that clarity comes, and the answers to life's biggest questions start to unfold. The significance of waking up at different hours isn't something to take lightly, whether you believe in the spiritual interpretations or not. There's something undeniable about the quiet power of the night. When God wakes you up at 3 a.m., it's not just about disrupted sleep. It's about recognizing that this could be the moment where your spirit is most open to receiving guidance, protection, or even a calling to act on something that's been on your heart. So, the next time you find yourself waking up at 3 a.m., consider it an opportunity. This could be your moment to connect with God in a way you haven't before. Take advantage of the stillness, the quiet, and the sense of peace that comes in those early hours. Who knows what spiritual wisdom might be waiting for you in the darkness of the night? There's something almost mystical about waking up at 3 a.m. Many people report feeling an unusual sense of awareness during this hour, as if something is drawing them out of sleep for a purpose. For centuries, 3 a.m. has been considered a spiritually significant time, often referred to as the witching hour or hour of God. When God wakes you up at 3 a.m., it's often believed to be a moment when he's trying to get your attention, perhaps to offer guidance, protection, or even a warning. Waking up between 3 and 4 a.m. is more than just an inconvenient interruption of sleep. Many believe it's a time when the spiritual realm is most active, and you're being invited to engage with God in a meaningful way. The secret behind waking up at 3 a.m. could be that it's the perfect moment for you to connect with your higher purpose or to pray for something that's been weighing on your heart. This is why God wakes you up at 3 a.m. because there's something more at play than just your sleep cycle. Have you ever noticed how clear your thoughts can be at 3 a.m.? That's because during this hour, your mind is less cluttered, and your spirit is more open to receiving divine messages. When God wakes you up at 3 a.m., it might be the perfect time to reflect, meditate, or even ask God for guidance. Try keeping a prayer or affirmation ready for these moments, so when you wake up, you can immediately engage in a meaningful spiritual practice. This simple habit can turn your 3 a.m. wake-ups into powerful spiritual experiences. It's fascinating how waking up at 3 a.m. can feel different than waking up at any other time. There's a stillness in the world, and that quiet can create the perfect environment for hearing God's voice. When God wakes you up at 3 a.m., it's often a sign that you're being called to pay attention to something important. Maybe there's a decision you need to make, or perhaps there's someone you need to pray for. The early hours of the morning are the ideal time to reflect on these things without the distractions of the day. If you've ever found yourself wide awake at 3 a.m., you're not alone. Many people experience this, and it's often viewed as a divine wake-up call. The idea that God might be nudging you awake at this specific time is a powerful one. Whether you choose to pray, reflect, or simply sit in stillness, waking up at 3 a.m. could be your opportunity to receive guidance, clarity, or protection. When God wakes you up at 3 a.m., it's time to listen. People who experience frequent 3 a.m. wake-ups often report feeling a strong sense of peace or urgency. It's as if the world is pausing just for you, giving you a moment to connect with God before the busyness of the day begins. This is why God wakes you up at 3 a.m. It's his way of saying, this is your moment. Whether it's to reflect on a challenge, seek guidance, or pray for someone in need, the early morning hours hold a special spiritual significance. For some, waking up at 3 a.m. becomes a regular occurrence, and over time, they begin to view it as a personal signal from God. If this happens to you, consider it a blessing. These moments can be filled with divine wisdom and clarity, offering you insights that you might miss during the hustle of your daily routine. So next time you wake up at 3 a.m., instead of feeling frustrated, embrace it as a chance to connect with God and discover what he might be trying to tell you. The 3 a.m. wake-up call is more than just a disruption to your sleep. It's an opportunity. It's a time when God is most likely to speak to you, free from the distractions of the day. When God wakes you up at 3 a.m., don't ignore it. Lean into it. Whether it's through prayer, reflection, or quiet meditation, these early morning hours could hold the answers you've been searching for. So, what will you do the next time you wake up at 3 a.m.? The Bible is filled with passages that highlight the significance of nighttime awakenings and moments of divine communication during the quiet hours. One of the most profound examples is found in Psalm 119:62, where it says, "At midnight I rise to give you thanks for your righteous laws." This passage reminds us that waking up in the night can be a sacred moment to connect with God, to offer praise, and to seek his guidance. When God wakes you up at 3 a.m., it could be your own personal call to rise and give thanks, much like the psalmist. Another powerful example comes from 1 Samuel 3:10, where young Samuel hears God's voice calling him in the night. At first, he doesn't realize it's God speaking to him, But after being guided by Eli, he responds, "Speak, Lord, for your servant is listening." This passage illustrates how, even in the stillness of night, God is active and communicating with his people. When God wakes you up at 3 a.m., it might be your own Samuel moment, an invitation to listen and respond to God's call in your life. In Mark 1:35, we see Jesus himself waking up early to pray, very early in the morning, while it was still dark. Jesus got up, left the house, and went off to a solitary place, where he prayed. This verse shows us that even Jesus recognized the power of waking up in the still hours to connect with God. When God wakes you up at 3 a.m., it's a reminder that these quiet moments can be the perfect time to follow Jesus' example and engage in prayer, seeking guidance and strength for the day ahead. Acts 16:25 provides another example of the power of nighttime awakenings. While Paul and Silas were in prison, they were praying and singing hymns to God at midnight. Suddenly, an earthquake shook the prison, and their chains were loosed. This story shows how powerful things can happen in the quiet of the night. When God wakes you up at 3 a.m., it could be your moment of spiritual breakthrough, an opportunity to pray through whatever chains are holding you back and find freedom in his presence. Another relevant passage is found in Luke 6:12. One of those days, Jesus went out to a mountainside to pray and spent the night praying to God. This highlights that there's something special about the night hours for spiritual connection. When God wakes you up at 3 a.m., it might be a divine nudge to do the same, to take a moment to step away from the distractions of daily life and seek God's wisdom and guidance in the stillness. The prophet Daniel also offers an example in Daniel 6:10, where he prayed 3 times a day, giving thanks to God even when it was against the law. While this passage doesn't directly mention 3 a.m., it shows the importance of regular prayer, no matter the circumstances. When God wakes you up at 3 a.m., it might be the perfect time to follow Daniel's example and offer thanks, even in the quietest moments of the night. We also see in Psalm 63:6, "On my bed I remember you. I think of you through the watches of the night." This verse captures the essence of how the night can be a time for reflection and remembrance of God's goodness. When God wakes you up at 3 a.m., it might be the perfect opportunity to think about his blessings, to meditate on his word, and to find peace in his presence as you prepare for what lies ahead. These passages show us that the night is not just for sleep. It's often a time for divine connection, reflection, and spiritual breakthroughs. When God wakes you up at 3 a.m., he might be inviting you to experience your own moment of awakening, whether it's through prayer, praise, or listening for his voice. The Bible reminds us that these nighttime moments are sacred, offering a chance to draw closer to God in ways that daytime distractions might prevent. Waking up at 3 a.m. has long been associated with spiritual activity, and many believe it's a time when God sends his angels to watch over and protect us. In moments like this, when God wakes you up at 3 a.m., it's often seen as a signal that you are under divine protection, guided by the presence of angels. This idea of angelic protection can bring immense peace, knowing that God's messengers are watching over you during the stillness of the night. The Bible offers several examples of angels appearing to guide, protect, or deliver messages. One of the most well-known is found in Psalm 91:11. "For he will command his angels concerning you to guard you in all your ways." This verse highlights the belief that angels are actively involved in our lives, especially in moments of vulnerability, like the night. When God wakes you up at 3 a.m., it could be a reminder that his angels are near, offering protection and comfort. Consider the story of Peter in Acts 12, where an angel wakes him up in prison to lead him to safety. The angel not only wakes Peter, but also guides him out of the chains that held him. This story reflects the idea that nighttime awakenings, especially those at 3 a.m., can be moments of divine intervention. When God wakes you up at 3 a.m., it might be a sign that his angels are at work, ensuring your safety and guiding you toward the path he has prepared for you. For many people, waking up at 3 a.m. can feel unsettling, but understanding it as a moment of angelic protection can transform that feeling into one of peace. Knowing that you're not alone in these quiet hours, that God's angels are watching over you, can bring a sense of calm and security. The next time God wakes you up at 3 a.m., try offering a prayer of gratitude for the protection that surrounds you, acknowledging the presence of angels in your life. There's something comforting about the idea that waking up at 3 a.m. could be a moment where angels are watching over you. Whether it's to offer protection, guidance, or comfort, these moments are often seen as divine encounters. This is why God wakes you up at 3 a.m., to remind you that you are not alone, even in the darkest hours. It's a time to reflect on the ways God's angels might be working behind the scenes to keep you safe. In Matthew 18:10, Jesus speaks of the angels who watch over children, saying, "Their angels in heaven always see the face of my Father in heaven." This verse reflects the idea that angels are constantly watching over us, especially in moments of vulnerability. When God wakes you up at 3 a.m., it might be a moment when your guardian angel is particularly close, offering protection and reminding you of God's constant care. Some people report feeling a strong sense of peace or even seeing visions of light during their 3 a.m. wake-ups. These experiences are often interpreted as signs of angelic presence. If this happens to you, take it as a sign that God's angels are near, offering guidance and protection. When God wakes you up at 3 a.m., it's not just about disturbed sleep. It's a moment of divine protection, a reminder that His angels are with you. Waking up at 3 a.m. with a sense of calm or peace can be your confirmation that God's angels are at work in your life. Whether they're protecting you from unseen dangers, guiding your thoughts, or offering comfort in difficult times, these moments are sacred. So, the next time God wakes you up at 3 a.m., take a moment to reflect on the protection that surrounds you, knowing that you are never truly alone. Before we dive deeper into why God wakes you up at 3 a.m., I want to hear from you. Have you ever experienced waking up at this hour? What thoughts or feelings did you have in that moment? Do you believe it was a coincidence? Or do you think there might be something more to it? Let me know in the comments. I'm really curious to hear your stories and thoughts. I'll be reading and responding to as many as I can. Now that you know the deeper meaning behind waking up at 3 a.m., what will you do the next time it happens? Will you brush it off, or will you pause and consider that God wakes you up at 3 a.m. for a reason? There's a secret behind those wake-ups, and it could be the key to unlocking something incredible in your life. Could this be the time when God is calling you to reflect, to pray, or even to change direction? What if you've been missing out on divine messages that were right there all along? Think about it. When God wakes you up at 3 a.m., you're being given a rare opportunity to connect with Him, free from distractions. Don't let this moment slip away. What will you ask for? What answers have you been seeking? And most importantly, how will you respond the next time God nudges you awake in those quiet hours? Take the time to reflect on your own life and see how these early wake-ups might be guiding you towards something greater. Now, here's where you can take action. I want you to try something new the next time you wake up at 3 a.m. Instead of feeling frustrated, embrace it. Use that time to pray, to reflect, and to listen for God's voice. And here's a challenge. Leave a comment below and tell us about your experience. Have you had a 3 a.m. wake-up call? What do you think God was trying to tell you? We'd love to hear your stories. If you're ready to dive deeper into spiritual truths like this one, make sure you subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications so you don't miss any future videos. And before you go, check out the video that's appearing on your screen right now. It will take you even further into understanding the mysteries of how God communicates. Trust me, you don't want to miss it.